Welcome back to the graveyard, everybody. My name is Mads, and today we're going to be discussing the brand Rogue & Wolf. Now, Rogue & Wolf may not necessarily have the household name status that brands like Killstar and Dollskill that we've discussed on this channel before do, but with over 570,000 Instagram followers, you can not exactly call them tiny, which actually brings to mind something we haven't brought up yet throughout this brand showcase series I've been working on. What makes a brand a small business? Everyone seems to have a different definition of small business. Some people say it depends on the amount of employees with the company. Some say it's the amount of sales they get, and some say it depends on the size of their following count. Everyone seems to have a different definition. With virality now taking hold, someone can be the only employee of their business, a full sole proprietorship, and still have over 1 million people following them and millions of sales. So I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think makes a brand a small business? Moving on from that, though, I initially was not going to make today's video about Rogue & Wolf, but they have something very unique occurring that has not happened with Killstar or Dollskill when I was making those videos. And it's the fact that Rogue & Wolf is going through a controversy right this second. So it was a nice, timely piece to be making. I always want to be transparent on my channel. I own 2 pieces from Rogue & Wolf. This is one of them. The other one is somewhere in the depths of the black hole I call my closet. I got both of them secondhand. I did buy them both from Mercari because at the time I wanted them, I could not afford them on the actual brand's website. But I'm wearing it to show that I'm not perfect. I try to do my due diligence. I try to look into these brands before making purchases from them. And I can say at the time that I bought this, I didn't see anything wrong with Rogue & Wolf. It seemed like they were a perfectly okay brand. They weren't getting caught up in horrible racist controversies or anything. They weren't like treating their employees badly. Nothing was coming up when I would try to look into whether or not they were going through controversies. Like many other alternative brands, the worst information I could really find was that some people found them cringe because they are kind of counted under that label of millennial goth. So yeah, I bought them and I still do wear them because if I spent money on something, I'm not just going to throw it away or burn it or anything. But I want to be fair to Rogue & Wolf just like I have been with Killstar and with Dollskill. I am going to walk you through the brand's history, what good they've done for the alternative subculture, as well as what the controversy at hand is. So let's get into it. Rogue & Wolf's About Us section is at the very bottom of their website, in the website footer, actually. And I will give them some credit. It's a lot more interesting than the About Us sections we've found before, because rather than just calling it About Us, they called it Forbidden Lore. And they have 10 Commandments, blog, reviews, and then your typical terms of service type stuff. So at least they tried to make it interesting. And it kind of works calling it something like Forbidden Lore because, in case you couldn't tell from their homepage, they have a strong emphasis on celestial alternative fashion. There's a lot of celestial bodies, there's stars, there's moons, there's planets, there's astronauts. That's kind of what they became known for when they first came onto the scene. They do dabble in things like tarot as well. Tarot is another strong thing that you'll find on a lot of their items that they sell, but they don't deviate too much outside of that. It's interesting to see, too, that they still have a blog. Blogs aren't as current as they were in the early to mid-2010s. That was kind of more popular before we had short-form content like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, stuff like that. So if somebody wanted to understand more about what a brand stood for and have a chance to maybe voice opinions, positive or negative, about a brand, they would go to the brand's blog. And theirs still gets updated regularly. Now let's take a look at their 10 Commandments section really quick. I want to know what this is about. 10 Commandments of Rogue & Wolf. Love thy fellow human. We want to live in a world full of kindness and love, so that's how we roll. We put values and people first and try to make the world a better place. Everyone working with us will get fair pay. We don't do unpaid internships. That shit is vile. We will always treat you and everyone else with care and understanding. We all get just one chance in this life. Would be ashamed to waste it on being selfish. We'll never gouge you on the prices. We honestly try to find the lowest price that will pay the bills. Okay, capitalism got us this far, but let's not get carried away and try to do things better now. We hate corporatism and the corruption it brings. Profit isn't everything. It's just the natural outcome of a job well done. So already that first commandment that they kind of preach to us is a very positive thing. Regardless of the size of a business, it's good to know that they want to treat their employees fairly. This is something that with Dollskill and Killstar, if you remember in those videos, I struggled to find any information on, was the ethics of the brand. A lot of brands, especially once they start getting more sales, want to bury anything like that, the ethics, because if they're doing anything wrong, like underpaying their staff or doing partnerships where people are paid a little tiny bit, or in some cases nothing at all, they don't want that being known to the world. They want to look as squeaky clean and polished as they can. They admitted that their employees come first. They want their employees to be treated fairly. They want them to be compensated for their work. They don't want them to be struggling financially. That is wonderful to know. I love knowing that a brand takes care of their employees, because without their employees, they simply do not exist. So let's go on to the next tenet here. Thou shalt not kill animals nor make them suffer. Okay, we love animals. Who doesn't? Shouldn't need to say anything more than that, but for the record, we love them means we don't exploit them or use any industry, material, or method that abuses or uses animals in any way. We like them more alive and happy, that's all. And you know what? It's not that hard these days. There are plenty of great non-animal alternatives to any material or manufacturing process. Let's try to reduce suffering as much as possible around the world, both for humans and our animal neighbors. Live and let live. Another amazing tenet to see from a small business, let alone any size business. The fact that they are transparent right there, where it's easy to find, about the fact that that sounds like they're saying, we are vegan and cruelty-free, and you're never going to find any animal products in anything we make. Not to mention, I want to put special emphasis on the last line of that paragraph, because this is something that a lot of other brands don't think about. With many brands, when they want to be cruelty-free and vegan, that's a wonderful start, wanting to end the suffering of animals. I mean, in this day and age, there's simply no reason to cause animal suffering when it comes to things like cosmetics and clothing. They're not, like, fashion and beauty are not needs. Yes, you do need clothing as a human being, but you don't need, like, the prettiest item on the rack. You don't need the most expensive or current fashion. You just need something to cover your body up. So there's no reason to make animals suffer for that. They're very transparent about that, but that last line is something a lot of brands get wrong. So you don't hurt animals, but then humans suffer as a result of that, because they're like, well, we need to find alternatives. So what do? They exploit cheap human labor. Sometimes they're slave labor. If there's not, they're paid very little. Their hours are terrible. They're treated like less than the dirt beneath the boss's feet. Rogan Wolf made sure to say they don't do that. Both for humans and our animal neighbors, live and let live. That to me says that they're doing their best to make sure animals are treated fairly, but human beings are also not being exploited. Wonderful. Thou shalt not outsource your creativity. From the first idea to the last stage of manufacturing, we design everything in-house with our small and dedicated team. We pride ourselves in designing everything ourselves. After all, that's how the brand started, with 2 designers full of love and passion for good design. We don't outsource our creativity. Where's the fun in that? Now, this is a little bit of a vague statement. It does sound wholly positive at first glance, but this is the first time in these tenets that it is deliberately a little bit vague. So they say that they started with 2 creative people who like to make all of their own designs, which is amazing because, again, what have we seen consistently across alternative brands so far? People outsourcing, unethically gathering the artwork that goes on their products. Either they're stealing art directly from small independent artists who do not have the financial means to sue that company or even to get copyright in many cases. So they can't fight it outside of going to Tumblr and Reddit and saying, hey, this brand stole my work. Here's the proof of when I made this design, and here's a proof of when they put it on their stuff. Again, Dolls Kill was rife with that, as was Killstar. Where I'm a little confused with the wording is what they mean by outsourcing. Do they just mean they don't partake in art theft? Or do they mean that they refuse to use outside artists? Because in that case, you could hinder your business a little bit. Once you reach a certain point where you can afford to bring more people on, it might actually be a good idea in the long run to hire more artists, because you don't get stuck in a rut. You don't get stuck as the brand that only does moon designs, the brand that only does cat designs, the brand that only does skull designs. You can have something that you're known for. Like I said, like Rogue and Wolf, it's celestial bodies. That's fine. But if you don't branch out a little bit, it will get stale. People will get bored and they won't want to support you as much anymore, and you won't get as many sales. So that's just something to keep in mind. Editing Mads here, I just wanted to pop into this video really quick to let you know that I do still agree with all the points that I just made in that video segment. However, the reason you saw the little spoiler alert is because of the fact that the controversy that is currently surrounding Rogue and Wolf directly has to do with that tenant I just read to you. While they love to tout themselves as this tiny independent brand with only 2 people creating all the designs right there in-house, which at surface level sounds amazing. It sounds like exactly the kind of indie company many of us would love to support, especially with the economy as it is right now. But there's a lot of proof right now that that is not what they're doing at all. In fact, it's difficult to say whether or not they've created any of their own designs recently. The brand has been very, very cagey lately about what they are using AI images for, and I wouldn't have even known about this had it not been for Nightmare Bliss, so give her a follow. I would have had no idea that they were this dishonest had she not noticed some weird and sketchy behavior on their Instagram, so very good to know. Thou shalt not design frivolously. We make each design with intense attention to detail and quality at each stage of the manufacturing. We'd rather sell one smashingly good product than sell 1,000 okay ones. We personally wear our products every day before we launch them, so we try them out for you and keep wearing them afterwards because we love them, and we get compliments too. So I love the self-love in that statement, the fact that they stand behind what they make, not only the designs themselves, but also the quality of the products. And I will say the 2 pieces I have from them are pretty unkillable. They have taken a pounding. They go to Comic-Con with me. I pin stuff to them all the time. They are in suitcases on long-haul journeys. They've gone through a very old washing machine and survived. They do stand the test of time, and knowing that they actually test their products instead of just having them made going, that looks cool, and shipping them off in a box, again, wonderful to know. The transparency is amazing. Thou shalt prefer on-demand production because it is superior. We started our journey more than a decade ago with 3D printed jewelry and massive dreams. Increase adoption of this magical on-demand technology and bring a sustainable, smarter future ever so slightly closer. We had many wild adventures along the way, driven by our passion for design, but our drive for a better future remains. We believe that on-demand production is our future, manufacturing products precisely when they are needed by you, our dear customer. We can produce closer to your home when you need it, massively reducing waste and pollution. And you know what's the magical promised future? We design, you download, and 3D print your clothes and homeware right in your home. It's closer than you think, and hope you'll be with us in our adventures until then. Now, I don't know when that tenet was first written out, but it's interesting that they have long-term goals. Because again, where a lot of fashion brands, especially in the alternative subcultures, fall short is that they start becoming fast fashion brands. And a lot of people are against fast fashion because it's simply unethical. The fact that they had their own 3D printer and they made it themselves so they don't have to worry about things like Killstar where they were like, we swear it's made overseas, but it's ethical. But how can you ever really know without actually physically going to the manufacturing facility? How can you be 100% positive and confident that those workers are not being exploited? You just will not know. I think whenever possible, it's best to have a warehouse as near to your home as possible or your home base so that once in a while you can make a surprise stop in. Make sure that nobody is hurting anyone else or exploiting anyone else, because you are physically there to see how operations are being handled. That's a good thing. Their long-term goal of, we design, you download, and 3D print your clothes and homeware right in your home. Again, strange word. They do have some grammatical errors and stuff in their writing. That's clearly not their strong suit, but that's okay. It isn't for everybody. They're a fashion brand. They're not creative writers. But again, it's nice to see that in terms of ethics and sustainability, they're trying to be really transparent. Thou shalt not take other people's silver unless they are truly happy. We are very grateful that you have chosen to spend your hard-earned money on our work. We wouldn't want anything less than you being happy with your shopping. If you don't like what you got, you can return it within 60 days and you will get your full money back. No ifs, no buts. We don't deserve to get paid unless we sparked some joy in your life. Again, wonderful. Something that's come up in the videos I've made before this one, and even in videos I'm making in the future that I'm doing research on right now, is that a lot of these brands are really cagey when it comes to their return policy. Either they promise something and deliver something else entirely, and people just can't seem to get their money back or even get a hold of customer service at all, or they basically just don't let you find where the return area is, so you're just stuck with something you're not happy with. So knowing that it's right there, and even outside these tenants, they have an area right under their blog and stuff that tells you where returns and refunds can be done. Amazing. Glad to know that they're being so upfront. Honor thy customer as if they were your friend. We are a small team of normal, sort of, gals and guys that really enjoy taking care of you. We reply in 1 business day or less and try to solve problems in the simplest way for you. We want you to have fun shopping with us, not worrying about this and that. If you need anything at all, just drop us a line by email or get in touch on Instagram or Facebook. We're here to listen to you and bring magic in your life. Now, this part I can say they're being 100% honest about because I've seen it. As I mentioned before, they have a very strong Instagram presence. They post there almost every day, and they do try to respond to every single comment they get. As long as it's not been like a full week since the post or something, they do actually respond to everybody in the comments. So even if you can't find their email or something, or you have a question about something they posted, you know you'll actually get to talk to a person in that moment, that day. Thou shalt have transparent reviews, and thou shalt take them seriously. Thank you for a smashing 4.75 out of 5 average across more than 5,000 reviews, and another 3,500 reviews on our Etsy shop, average 4.8 out of 5. We are transparent with real reviews on all products. More than just that, we use your reviews as an opportunity to learn and improve our quality or fix our mistakes. If a complaint comes in, the whole team knows and we try to fix it. We make the best out of your feedback to identify issues in our products and improve with each new cycle of manufacturing. Your comments will not be ignored, and we will always make up for any hiccups. So again, that's saying, like, we admit that sometimes we get it wrong, like any other brand would. And if you have an issue with it, it's okay if you leave us a negative review. We are not going to sit here and erase them, which we also have seen companies do before. And I always think that's messed up that when you have the ability to erase a negative review doing that, I think it's always best to let them stand. Even if you think the person was being unfair, leave the negative review up, because at the end of the day, if you're able to professionally argue that what that person said is untrue, that just makes your brand look even better. So what's wrong with leaving it there? A perfect 5 out of 5 can look suspicious to people because, let's face it, no brand is perfect and no one expects any brand to be perfect. Thou shalt not profit from shipping. We hate shipping costs as much as you do. There are no catches or hidden costs within our prices, and we don't make any profit from shipping. We just charge directly what the shipping companies charge us. We tried to offer free shipping worldwide in a 6-month-long experiment that cost us a ton, but it's not easy even for massive corporations, never mind a small indie brand like ours. So instead, we charge exactly what it costs, and we keep looking for ways to keep shipping costs as low as possible. So that's always awesome. It's nice to know that you're not going to get stiff. Thou shalt make returns easy. Sometimes a size doesn't fit. Sometimes you can change your mind. Sometimes your cat hates your new tea. It's all good, man. You can return anything within 60 days and we'll make it as easy as possible. Free returns in the UK, but return shipping is on you everywhere else. Sorry about that. We've tried to set up international free returns, but it's next to impossible. So again, that's the second time they've mentioned something about how easy their returns are, which is really good to know. It's almost impossible not to know what their policy is now. So there we go. That explains what the brand stands for in very simple to understand terms and in an area of their website that's easy to find. So thank goodness for that. I can't find any information in their About section about the history of the brand, why they decided to start it, when they decided to start it. So we're going to have to do a little bit more digging to find that information. So it definitely took a little Googling to try to find the correct page of their website to find out anything about their brand history. But eventually I did find something, and it was this: About Us, fashion, jewelry, and lifestyle designer brand, witching gear and unique style for witches, unicorns, mermaids, rogues, and wolves, designing cool things since 2012. So because they're on Etsy, I imagine that that's when they started creating the 3D printed jewelry for their Etsy was 2012, based on what the 10 Commandments of Rogue and Wolf said and this information, and then they just kind of branched out after that. So just like the other brands we've discussed so far on my channel, let's take a look at Rogue and Wolf's clothing, see if it looks like it's worth the cost you're going to pay, because after all, they did say they try to make it as affordable as possible since a lot of alternative fashion is very expensive. So I always want to be fair and look at the new page and the sale page. So $58 high tops, honestly, that's not bad at all. Even Chuck Taylor is around that price for just the plain black and white high tops with nothing special on them. And they can go well over $100 once you have unique designs. So the fact that it's high tops with their own designs printed and they didn't make them any more expensive is pretty awesome. I think $58 for these shoes is pretty affordable, and it's nice to see just a basic high top. I know gothic boots and like demonias and cool heels and stuff, they look amazing, but they're not for everyone. There's people like me who are disabled goths. I use a wheelchair, and when I'm not in a wheelchair and I'm just bumbling around my house, I've got forearm crutches. It's not safe or comfortable for me to be in these platform boots. But usually, if you're lucky enough to find flats, they're either really, really girly, which again, not really the vibe I'm going for with my footwear, and a lot of men aren't going to want that either. Or it's like, here's just a skull, here's just a ghost. So seeing that they have a lot of flat shoes that have unique designs on them is amazing to see. I also see that we've got plus size models right off the bat in the activewear. That's wonderful. That's another issue that occurs a lot in alternative fashion, is either there just is nothing for plus size people, or even if they sell plus size clothing, they don't want to show it on a plus size model, which is ignorant and stupid. There's no reason not to. Everyone deserves to see what they're going to look like in your fashion. You should have disabled models. You should have trans models. You should have plus size models. There's no reason not to these days. So we've got a pair of plus size leggings that are $39. Again, I know a lot of people don't have much disposable income these days, but $39 for activewear leggings, ones that are going to be able to take a pounding, is really not bad at all. Not for something brand new and with a unique design on it. Now, my first question is, since these are plus size leggings that are $39, if I find them in the standard size, are they going to be a different price? I'm actually pleased to say that not only did they not charge extra for the plus size leggings like a lot of brands do, it actually looks like the standard size leggings might cost more. These Snake Guardians leggings that I found are $42, and the plus size ones were $39. It's not the exact same pattern, but it's close enough that you can basically count them as almost being the same thing. So wonderful, amazing, 10 out of 10 for that. This coat is one of the more expensive items that I found on the website at $134. T-shirts are like $36. That's about mid-price, I'd say, for a t-shirt. I've seen some places with $20, some places with $50. Just depends. $85 for a hoodie is kind of pushing it, especially since it looks like it just has screen printing on it. $50 for a knit sweater, though, isn't bad at all, especially not a longer one like that. That $55 Starlight sleeved tee is the other Rogan Wolf piece that I personally have, and it fits very comfortably. Like I said, it takes quite a pounding. It is fully screen printed, so $55 might be kind of pushing it. I definitely paid less for mine secondhand, but at the end of the day, because it's an indie brand, they're making stuff in-house, you can kind of forgive the price a little bit, and it really isn't terrible compared to a lot of brands. $47, $57, $47, $35. It looks like we're mostly going between like $25 and $55 to $57 for most of the products on their website, which is, I'd say, about mid-range price-wise for an alternative fashion brand. They also do have a lot of lifestyle items, not just clothing, which is cool. For a long time, they had the Sin Book journal and a whole bunch of mugs and tumblers, which is pretty fun. But they've also branched out now. They branched out into stuff like silverware and coasters and even table runners, which is kind of cool because it's easier for some people to get their stuff all in one place, all at one time, and know what they're paying in the moment, especially nowadays, than it is to go, oh, I need to get my bedding from Killstar, and I need to get my clothing from Rogan Wolf, and I need to go to Disturbia to try to find my homeware stuff. And you're trying to sit here doing all these calculations to find out what you're ultimately spending on all of it. I know. Some people are going to go, but it's goth in a box. Leave people alone. If goth in a box, as you put it, is more affordable and easier for people, especially during an economic recession, just let people live their lives. You won't die. I promise. Now, I want to look at the blog. I wouldn't normally look at a company's blog because, like I said, that's not really current these days. A lot of people just aren't interested in blogs anymore. I even used to blog for a small business, and I stopped a long time ago because nobody really reads them anymore. But the reason we're looking at it is I mentioned at the beginning of this video that the reason I wanted to discuss Rogan Wolf today is because they are in a current ongoing controversy. And it's very unfortunate to see a small indie brand get into controversy in the first place because they're still on their upswing. They are still not at the heights of brands like Killstar. So a controversy can really destroy them. It can break down your brand. You either stagnate at the size you're currently at, or you go downhill. And for them, it looks like they're rapidly tumbling down a mountain due to this controversy. On March 18th, Rogan Wolf posted a photo of their boots that they've had for years and years on their website, on their Instagram page. And something very interesting happened in the comments. Now, I followed them on Instagram for a long time, and they average anything from 10 to about 30 or so comments per post. But usually they're all positive or almost all positive. This time, something changed. There were 40 comments and almost all of them are negative. Yeah, y'all can take the term ethical out of your bio. May as well also take vegan out, considering AI is bad for the environment and by extension, all the fauna on Earth. Hope your sales tank. They blocked my main account for calling them out on their shit. Oh goddamn, that's so fucking pathetic and spineless. Y'all really would rather disregard people's valid as hell complaints about y'all using AI and block them to keep them quiet than just actually be an ethical company. Again, fucking pathetic. Trash. You guys suck. Unfollowing after all I've found out. Hello, found out about your thieving brand because people are sharing about how you steal art under the excuse of AI while masquerading as an ethical brand. Just saying, can't wait to see someone else steal your designs using generative AI eventually. You can take ethical out of your ethical vegan brand. Don't support this company. Stop using AI. Yeah, it just keeps on going like this. That post exploded with angry customers saying that they wanted to return any item they've ever bought from Rogan Wolf, saying that they want nothing to do with the brand, and that they're pissed beyond all reason because the brand has been using AI art. That is a big problem. Let's start with looking at their own 10 commandments that I read off at the beginning of this video. One of the things Rogan Wolf stands behind as a brand is the fact that It started as two designers just in their house making their own stuff, and that they pride themselves on never outsourcing any designs, that they do all their own designs in-house because the two owners are artists. Not if you're using AI. I've talked ad nauseum on my TikTok and on my YouTube before about AI, but it bears repeating for this video since it's relevant to the topic. AI art is harmful. It has harmful environmental impacts, and it hurts artists and small businesses. So let's turn to earth.org for a minute to break down how AI art hurts the environment, because you wouldn't think that typing something into a search bar would cause any harm, but it does. The Green Dilemma: can AI fulfill its purpose without harming the environment? Behind the scenes of AI's brilliance lies an energy-intensive process with a staggering carbon footprint. As data sets and models become more complex, the energy needed to train and run AI models becomes enormous. This increase in energy use directly affects greenhouse gas emissions, aggravating climate change. According to OpenAI researchers, since 2012, the amount of computing power required to train cutting-edge AI models has doubled every 3.4 months. By 2040, it is expected that the emissions from the information and communications technology industry as a whole will reach 14% of global emissions, with the majority of those emissions coming from ICT infrastructure, particularly data centers and communication networks. These data demonstrate the urgent need to address AI's carbon footprint and role in environmental deterioration. And it continues on in that article, which I'll leave in the description box below for you to read, by breaking down all of the individual studies scientists have done to prove that it is actively harming the environment, and that there is no way to utilize and train AI technology without causing serious, irreparable harm to the earth. We already have a huge problem with the environment. Humans have destroyed the earth. A lot of us are doing our part and doing our best to try to put an end to that. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, doing things like recycling your bottles and cans and stuff doesn't really make an impact. It makes a tiny impact, but nothing compared to what large companies are doing. It's been proven that even if every single person on Earth was really, really diligent about their recycling, it really wouldn't reverse that much of the climate damage, because giant corporations are single-handedly destroying the world. They're not ethical in their practices. They are leaving such a huge carbon footprint behind that the only way to truly save the world is to convince these giant companies to stop doing things like this. And the fame, the virality that AI art has taken on is causing these companies to update the AI generation technology faster and more, which means that the carbon footprint is getting worse every single day. I mean, the statistics I just read you alone should be enough to alarm you. Now we're going to get into the ethics of AI art in terms of art theft, because I'm sure a lot of you have heard by now you can't ethically use AI art in any way. So in order to explain why AI art is so harmful to artists, small businesses, all kinds of creatives, I want to show you an article that breaks down how AI works, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand how it works. They just go to a funny little website, they type in a funny little prompt, and they think that it's completely harmless. But the problem arises when they start using whatever image was generated to create a profit for themselves. How does AI work? Let's take a look at how AI works. The language models and image generators need samples before they can generate anything. They can't create text or images from nothing. The companies call this training. The AI is being provided huge data sets that they run through several algorithms. Where does this data come from? From us, human creations, books, media, the internet. In the case of image generators, the entire internet is scraped so they can get as many images as possible to be put into data sets for the AI to learn from. It's very probable that what you can read here will soon be scraped for ChatGPT to integrate into its training data set, and they've already found my art in the data sets of image generators like Stable Diffusion. Basically, if you can see it on the internet, it will be taken. Without our data, none of these tools would exist. So that should explain in a nutshell why using AI generators for art is theft. What it's done is it's collected a bunch of media from the internet and patchworked it together. It's stolen, plain and simple. So you go into, say, Dolly or something, and you say a cute witch with a giant purple hat playing with a cat in a window while it's raining, and it generates an image for you, and you pick which one you like the best, and you sell it on a bunch of shirts. It has now scraped the internet for any image it can find that it thinks is a cute witch, any image it can find of a cute giant purple witch hat, any image of a cat playing with a witch. You see what I mean? It's stealing from other artists. And the thing is, you can try to say, oh, but it's like populated into something that's a wholly new creation. Not necessarily. First off, if you're not the original artist, you don't get to say whether or not the new item is enough of a change or not. That's up to each individual. 2, I have seen it completely rip off entire pieces before. I've seen it try to warp people's watermarks, to warp people's signatures, because it used an entire image someone else made, and all it did was maybe change the style a tiny bit, but it's clearly their image that they created. There's so many examples you can find of side-by-side comparisons of the AI-generated art versus the original, where it changes almost nothing.
Today we're talking quickly about a new method of stealing artwork that's been made possible by AI art, and it is incredibly sneaky. So if you don't know much about AI art, basically you can type in a text prompt and the algorithm will generate an image. However, you can also do something called image to image, where you input an image and potentially some text alongside it too, and then output a similar image. And you can ask the AI to stick very closely to the image that you inputted. And of course, through multiple examples you can see on screen, some people are using image to image in quite a sneaky way. They're using it to make near copies of the visual artist's works.
And then on top of that, I believe I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but my fiance was on a beginner comics group on Facebook, and someone made an entire comic series out of just AI art. He didn't create anything himself. He didn't write it. He didn't draw it. Already there's the ethics of, can he put his name on it as the author when he didn't write it? An algorithm did. On top of it, when he opened the book, the main character he had was wearing the face of someone I recognized. It was an Instagram model. It was his exact face that this guy had never seen before, so he didn't recognize it. Can you imagine how uncanny that would be to see? So, naturally, now that you understand why AI is bad, people are pretty pissed. They're mad that Rogan Wolf calls themselves an ethical company, because how can you be ethical and sustainable? How can you claim you care about the environment and animal rights and everything like that, and your carbon footprint, when you are using AI on a bunch of your designs? Every time they use AI, they're hurting the environment. And how can you say, we do everything in-house, we're independent designers, we never want to outsource art to anybody else, but you're stealing art from other artists? You can bet your boots Rogan Wolf's owners would be pissed beyond all reason. They'd be hitting the roof if they found out that Killstar stole one of their designs. You'd never hear the end of it. So why are you doing it to other small independent artists? You go on and on about how you're a tiny independent company. You're indie. Yeah, so are a lot of artists. Why do you want to hurt those people? Not only was it bad enough that they were caught using AI, they tried to defend their actions by, one, arguing with every single person in their comments section and trying to say, well, it's okay because here's our blog post, but not actually listening. They were just copy and pasting the blog post to everyone. So people were getting increasingly angry because they were like, you're not even answering what our real valid concerns are about this. You're just showing us a stupid blog post that just makes excuses. What the fuck? So let's take a look at the blog post where they supposedly justify their use of AI. There's actually multiple blog posts. I think I've found about 3 so far, but we're going to take a look at the first one because this was from February 23rd of 2024. Rogan Wolf's Journey, Fashion, Technology, and Ethics in the Age of AI. You might have noticed the recent explosion of artificial intelligence software and AI-enabled tools. The latest AI technologies are seeing massive and rapid adoption across all industries. You might also have noticed the long threads of comments in our social media that mostly revolve around the demand to stop using AI. We notice for sure, not the time to be using emojis. What are you, dolls kill? We generally prefer to stay in our cave and design, but we believe... stay in our cave and steal from other artists. But we believe this situation demands a public conversation. Grab some cold brew coffee or a fine chamomile lavender infusion and sit back for a relaxed read. We, Eloise and Michael, started Rogan Wolf in 2012 from our living room with a crazy vision. Let's use 3D printing to manufacture products people enjoy, sidestepping traditional manufacturing. 3D printing had just become available to consumers at scale through companies like Shapeways, and we thought, surely we can use it for full manufacturing of retail-ready products, right? Wild idea at the time, but we took a leap of faith. Long story short, we decided that jewelry was the only barely viable product we could personally enjoy making. Fast forward a few years, and we were in disbelief as thousands of people were enjoying our black nylon 3D printed jewelry that seemed like a wild fantasy at conception. That was the start of Rogan Wolf, but our story should start even further back. The two of us have been a couple IRL for 20 plus years. At around 2005, we came across the work of futurist and inventor Ray Kurzweil? I don't know, I'm so sorry. Well summarized in his book, The Singularity is Near. We were techno-optimists and forward-thinking since young, before we even met. But reading about the possible future and how soon this could arrive blew our minds. We believed and agreed with Ray's analysis and kept our eyes open for early corroborating evidence. 3D printing was our first immediate contact with future technologies, our promised sci-fi future, and we dove right in, knowing that we were possibly too early and 3D printing was not quite ready for mass adoption yet. Here's the thing, they keep going on and on about 3D printing, paragraph upon paragraph. I'm sure you can already gauge by now. This blog is trying to say, well, we've always been technologically advanced at Rogan Wolf. We wanted to use and adopt new pieces of technology to make it easier for us to manufacture in-house so we don't have to outsource. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. That's why people do things like buy their own screen printing stuff. So they have a screen printing business out of their living room. They don't have to outsource it to other places and not know about their ethics. This is why people get Cricut machines to make their own stickers. This is why people buy 3D printing machines. The things about 3D printers, screen printers, and Cricut machines is they're not generating art and designs out of other people's hard hours and hours of work. They're not. Now, you can be an unethical person and you can steal someone's design and input it into that machine, but it's not the same as using AI. It's just not. Like, anyone can steal any art at any time. Some people just suck like that. You know, it happens. But you creating your own wolf skull design, putting it through your 3D printer and making a ring out of it, that is forward thinking. That is being technologically advanced at the time, but still creating your own design, still ethically sourcing your artwork and not stealing from other people. You may have been inspired, you may have referenced other people, but it was, at the end of the day, your own design. That's the key difference here. That's why people are upset, and they don't seem to be understanding that here. The potential of AI. Artificial intelligence means achieving thinking and learning on a non-biological substrate, e.g. a computer. This ability has finally been achieved. The latest AI techniques can match or outperform human-level skill on a massive range of specific tasks, especially around written word and visual composition. AI is also far, far beyond human skill level in complex scientific tasks like drug discovery and protein folding. Again, though, this is an illogical argument. You're trying to say AI is good for humanity, though, because it's helping with things like prescription drugs and stuff. That has nothing to do with the fashion industry. That has nothing to do with the ethics of stealing it for artistic purposes. Humanity now has human-level competence on tap. It's hard to compare this development with any past technological advancements. Maybe the development of language was the last comparable event in magnitude of importance. Intelligence is the most powerful force in the universe, and humanity has just taken a big step towards mastering it. We're on the cusp of unlocking abundance in most areas of life, from food to education to health and art. Again, stop trying to argue it's good because it's used for things you're not using it for. If you were using it for things like scientific advancements, fine, but you're not. You're using it in your art. And in those numerous paragraphs, which I didn't even read all of them because it's honestly exhausting how much they talked on and on about nothing, at no point did they explain what they use the AI for. So if you look at their Instagram posts now, something very interesting has happened. One, they get 0 comments on any of their posts anymore. Like I said, it used to be between like 10 and 30. Dead silence now. There's maybe 1 or 2 comments at most, but most of them have no comments at all and very few likes. Not good. Not good at all. They're careening down Mount Everest with this take. So you can garner that one of 2 things are happening if their Instagram is a ghost town. Either people are so disillusioned with the excuses they've made for stealing other artists' work and for not being transparent about what they're even using the AI for right away, or people are still commenting, but they're commenting negative things, and they're going against that ethic that they promised about allowing negative reviews to stay up, and they're deleting comments. I don't claim to know which one is going on, but either way, it isn't good. In that last clip, I mentioned the fact that people were upset with Rogan Wolf because they weren't completely upfront and honest about what the AI was being used for. And it actually goes a little bit further even than that. People were upset because they had to go and look at Rogan Wolf's blog posts, which, as I've mentioned several times throughout this video, people don't really read blogs anymore, which means almost nobody was going to see that information and know about it. If Rogan Wolf was dead set on using AI in any part of their production or advertising, they should be mentioning that in their Instagram posts. It is a dumpster fire on their Instagram right now. Every time they make a new post, just about, somebody says, AI generated, don't follow, don't support, and people have to argue whether or not, no, this is an actual model. We've seen her before. She's on Instagram. You can follow her right now. Or if it's an AI generated photograph. That is a problem because now the actual models for the brand are getting swept up in Rogan Wolf's mess because they didn't have the wherewithal to just say, this post has AI generated content. That's all I would have taken. Then people could go, ew, gross, I am not okay with that, and decide not to support the brand anymore, and the models wouldn't have had to pay the price for that. Not to mention the fact that if you do actually go ahead and look in their blog posts after this video, you'll see there have actually been 4 or 5 different blog posts in the recent past, all made about AI. They have not once actually listened to their customer base and tried to understand why other artists are so upset about this decision. Instead, they've double, triple, quadrupled down on their decision to use AI. And not only that, the biggest slap in the face I've seen is that in a couple of their blog posts, they went as far as to say that what they're using AI for is not their designs, but their photography. But again, they're not tagging which times it's a model and which times it's done with AI. And they even went as far as to say AI generation is better than a human photographer and tried to go on for paragraphs about why they were right about this take. What a giant slap in the face to photographers all over the world. Not to mention, they don't have the luxury of being upset and offended about the fact that people are like, well, how can we believe you? How can we believe that the only thing you're using AI generation for is your photography and not your designs? And they're like, how could you accuse us of something so terrible? We're designers. We're artists. We'd never do that.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Well, you weren't exactly upfront and honest about the fact that you were using it in your photography in the first place. And then you use excuses and said humans aren't as good as AI. What do you expect? Of course people don't trust you anymore. Of course they're going to just assume that you're using in your designs because it's your word over theirs, and your word means less than nothing now. Now, they try to claim that they did a section about the dangers of AI, but who wants to throw their coins in? My guess is they're going to make more excuses and try to act like they're doing what's best for the customer, even though a majority of their customers are pissed. We can see the frustration, worry, and even fear about AI technologies out there. In all honesty, we expected some pushback, but we're still surprised by the speed and intensity since we've always seen this new technology as positive and anticipating it for decades. Of course, there are always risks bundled with progress. If humanity did not push through the risks, though, we would still mostly use subsistence farmers like our great-grandfathers. Humanity, of course, will have to work towards a compassionate application of new technologies as always, but we do not consider non-adoption a real option. Any countries that stifle progress in the field of AI will fade to insignificance very fast, and it's pretty clear the state leaders recognize this already. Hilarious that they believe that because, from what I've seen, a vast majority of the human race is firmly against AI for artistic use. They all keep on saying, even people who are not artists, who are not writers, who are not photographers or musicians, are standing with artists and saying, if you cannot afford to pay for a photographer for your product photos, if you can't afford to pay artists to help you create new designs, then you don't deserve a business. Wait until you can afford those things, then create your small business. Otherwise, you're partaking in blatant theft of someone else's work. It's not that worries about AI are not real. There are even existential risks involved. It's the only viable solution is to work through them. That wasn't a fucking sentence. Stop using AI is one of the worst approaches to the problem because then we allow someone else to decide how AI will be used. One of the worst outcomes for the population can be to allow a state actor with anti-ethical worldviews to be 100 times more advanced, becoming our de facto hegemon. We should deploy AI faster and more compassionately than those who would not. Again, random schmo world leader learning how to more effectively use AI to harm their country or the world as a whole has nothing to do with fashion. Nothing to do with fashion at all. You're trying to make these straw man excuses for your detractors who are rightfully angry about what you've done at your brand. And it's frustrating because it shows that you don't actually care why people are upset. You're not listening to the real reasons they're upset with you. You're just coming up with any straw man you possibly can to go, poof, there goes your argument because this thing could happen. Regardless of how many people use or don't use AI, if a bad person wants to do bad things with AI, they're going to. So your argument is moot. People already do it. People already say, I know that AI is stealing from people and I'm going to use it anyway because you can't stop me. And look what's happening. People are starting to draft new laws now for the ethics of AI and whether or not you can actually copyright AI-generated works. Even the government understands, across the world, various governments understand that there is a downside to this and they're working on it, but technology is still new in the grand scheme of the human race, so it takes time. A low-risk, low societal repercussions industry like fashion is the least of humanity's worries. An independent, tiny design team of 5 people using AI technologies to the best of their abilities is an insignificant concern. We would argue that this should actually be promoted. We are worried about our relevance in the broader economy as well as we know that every major company in the world is deploying AI as fast as they can manage. We believe we can do it in our own unique way, though, and there can be value for society in this.
Bow, bow, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, bow, bow, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up.
Get absolutely fucked up the asshole with the devil's pitchfork. That entire paragraph just told every independent artist who has had their work plagiarized by the AI photography that Rogan Wolf has used on their website and their Instagram that they don't matter. Only their little 5-person company matters. Only the people working for Rogan Wolf and typing away in their little AI generators matter. Who cares if you're upset? Who cares if we took food from your mouth? Who cares if we took money away from you for bills in the absolute dumpster fire the world economy is in right now? Because we're benefiting from it. And it's okay because all the other kids are doing it right now and we just want to fit in though. Didn't your mom ever tell you if the other kids jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? Same argument can be said here. Okay, so other companies are employing AI in the use of their photography or maybe their designs. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And guess what? Have you looked at Reddit lately? People are pissed about it. Every time people are finding out that a company has used AI to create new designs, they are boycotting it. They are refusing to support these brands in any way. They are dumping followers faster than a runner on laxatives. Do you want that? Like I said, all it takes is looking at the state of their social media to see what a dog shit take this has been. People are angry. People are refusing to support them now. You say you're a tiny 5-person indie brand and you're trying your best, but you're clearly not, and you're not as ethical or willing to listen to your customer base as you claim you do, which means not only are you doing something that is upsetting to people in general, you have violated your core tenets of your brand that you promised people since you first began, and you have lost the trust of your customer base. Every brand is going to fuck up sometimes. No brand is perfect. They're run by human beings. You're going to mess up sometimes. Maybe you'll make a design and not realize that it is accidentally cultural appropriation. All it takes is taking the design down, apologizing, explaining what you learned, and how you're going to do better in the future. If more brands just handled controversies and issues like this, I think they would make it back up on their feet and be fine in the end. The controversy would be over. It would be a blink in the brand's history, and people would continue to support them. But when you lose the trust of your customers, they see you as a liar, they see you as not actually practicing what you preach, you'll never get those customers back again, and they will tell other people not to support you. I'm no longer going to be supporting Rogan Wolf. I had been saving some money because I like their designs. I think it looks really cool, but I'd rather spend the money I would have spent on them on a small business who's also on Etsy that has proven they don't use AI, that are anti-AI, and who actually want to ethically create their own designs and work hard for their small business. I don't want people just sitting here cutting corners and hurting other people and the environment in the process. As always, do with the information I have given you what you will. If you still want to support Rogan Wolf, I can't stop you. Like I've said in the other videos, I'm not making these videos with the intent to cause you to just swear off these brands forever. You're an individual. You're going to do what you want to do. But I'm arming you with knowledge. I'm arming you with the information necessary to know what these brands stand for and whether or not they fit your own personal morals. But until next time, do something that makes you happy today, so long as you're hurting nobody else in the process. Rogan Wolf. And I'll see all of you again soon.